On a Friday morning, the Simpson family is eating breakfast together. Lisa and Bart have a tug-of-war over a donut, causing the box to rip open, and Homer eats the donut, much to their disapproval. After Bart and Lisa leave for school, Homer leaves for work at the power plant without noticing Marge and saying goodbye to her. Marge and Maggie are then the only two left alone at home. After Maggie falls asleep, Marge starts listening to Bill Pye on the radio. Not long later, a commercial comes into play on the radio, which suggests listeners to call Dr. Marvin Monroe's on-the-air therapy, 555-PAIN, if they have any problems with their lives. Marge, upon hearing this, gets motivated to do so and tells Monroe that she is tired of Homer mistreating her. At the Springfield nuclear power plant, Homer overhears Marge talking about him on the phone, which the other power plant employees also hear, and they laugh at it. Embarrassing Homer. Marvin Monroe then suggests to Marge that if Homer continues treating her the way he does now, she will have to leave him, and while at first tiny bit hesitant, strongly agrees to do so. Homer, who feels unhappy after hearing all this on the radio, later goes to Moe's tavern instead of home that night, where he tells Moe about what he went through during his time at work today. Moe then gives his pal some advice to get his marriage back on track. Moe tells Homer that he should buy her wife some flowers, take her to chow on dinner at a fancy restaurant, and spend the night at a hotel. Back at home, a furious Marge impatiently waits for him to come home and tell him off. Bart, Lisa, and Maggie wisely keep their distance from her. At the florist's Howard's Flowers, Homer buys a single rose, and as the flowers are very expensive, Homer arrives home with the wilted rose and a box of chocolates and tells Marge that he loves her. Marge's complexion softens and tells Homer that she too loves him and apologizes for taking him for granted. Homer forgives Marge and chooses to take her out for dinner, chez Paris, and a night at a hotel, ye old off-ramp inn, like Moe suggested. Meanwhile, Bart has made various prank calls to Moe's tavern. However, his folks are faced with a problem when they realize that their kids have no one to watch over them. To find a babysitter, Marge picks up the phone and is surprised that Moe is still yapping at Bart for the Oliver Claws-Off prank and hangs up, assuming that it was a crossed wire. She picks it up again and calls the Rubber Baby Buggy Bumpers babysitting service. However, the receptionist immediately freaks out, telling her that she must be kidding when Marge identifies herself as Mrs. Simpson. She quickly refuses their service to the Simpson children due to their bad reputation with their babysitting service for a long time, which resulted in the Simpsons being blacklisted from being babysat by them. Not giving up in the slightest, Homer then calls under the alias Homer Sampson and hires a rather rude and brutal babysitter named Miss Spots. When Miss Spots arrives with two suspicious-looking suitcases, Marge, who's already pampered up for her night with Homer, who's also pampered up, tells her that Maggie has to go to sleep immediately, but Bart and Lisa can stay up for an hour longer and they can watch the happy little elves meet the curious bear cub, much to Bart's horror and hatred of the elves. In the meantime, when Bart tries to suggest an alternate viewing in order to avoid watching the elves, Miss Spots quickly puts him in his place by mentioning that she dealt with troublesome children like him before and makes him watch the video with Lisa while she puts Maggie to bed, or she will do something to him. After a while, Bart starts to get sick of the elves, so he plans to switch to America's Most Armed and Dangerous, where the host is talking to the audience about the notorious babysitter bandit, whose real name is Lucille Botskowski. The host also warns the viewers that she might be using a clever alias. He then shows a mugshot of the criminal on TV, who looks just like Miss Spots. Later, as if on cue, Miss Spots, who really is the babysitter bandit, comes into the room holding a rope. Having overheard of what the two have been watching, a scared Bart and Lisa scream and run out of the room to hide. Bart hides in the basement, while Lisa goes in the kitchen and tries to call 1-800-YOU-SQUEAL on the phone, but this attempt proves unsuccessful. When Miss Spots tries to look for Bart in the basement, he tries to knock her out with Marge's bowling ball, but to no avail as Bart drops onto the floor and Miss Spots notices him, thus getting caught by her. In the kitchen, Lisa reports over the phone about Miss Spots, but Miss Spots is behind her, pulling her by the telephone cord. Just as when she's in the middle of reporting about the bandit, Miss Spots captures Lisa. Back in the living room, Miss Spots puts a tied-up Bart and Lisa on the couch and ties them up and disables the phones. Bart carries on talking and moaning that she won't get away with it, prompting Miss Spots to gag him by taping Bart's mouth up. Miss Spots then turns on the Happy Little Elves video again for them, which bothers Bart a lot more, and multiple jokes, please, but a smug. Lisa tells him to be quiet and makes the best of the situation. Meanwhile, Homer and Marge are enjoying a fancy dinner at Ches Paris, having lobsters. After being done with their meal, the two go to the ye old off-rampin' hotel, where Marge spends some time together with Homer in their hotel room. Back at the house, Maggie wakes up and goes to the guest's bedroom to witness Miss Spots ransacking the Simpsons' belongings. After encountering this, Maggie heads downstairs where she finds her siblings, all tied up. Just as the Happy Little Elves video ends, Bart has finally had it with the elves, so he pounds his head on the couch in anger. Lisa tells Maggie that she'll be able to watch the video again if she unties her. Maggie complies, saving the day once more. The kids then devise a strategy to knock out Miss Spots and report her. Maggie goes up the stairs and is nearby her parents' room, where Lucille Botskowski is robbing their closet. Botskowski, tired of the incompetent and bothersome Simpson children, decides to tie up Maggie as well. Bots follows Maggie's pacifier sucking sound and into Bart's room with the lights off, where she's hit on the head by Bart, wielding a baseball bat. It turns out that Bart was using Maggie's pacifier to accomplish the deed. Meanwhile, Marge discovers that there is no answer at home, as Miss Spots had disabled the phone line earlier, and decides to cancel their reservation and drive back home to investigate what was going on, while Bart, Lisa, and Maggie rush outside to a local payphone and alert the authorities, but not before tying Lucille Botskowski up and gagging her and forcing her to watch the Happy Little Elves video on TV. Marge and Homer arrive home and find Miss Spots bound and gagged. After they ungag her, she begs him to turn off the TV and warns Homer not to take his eyes off Bart for a second. They then send her home with all her suitcases, in which the stolen items from the house are contained, which Homer and Marge don't know about, plus 3 times her regular pay. The police then arrive along with the media, but as Bart tries to lead them to the living room, Homer grabs Bart by the shirt and berates him for his behavior toward Miss Spots. However, Homer is cut off by a reporter who tells him about Miss Spots' true occupation as a babysitter bandit, and Homer just let her escape. Realizing his horrible mistake, a humiliated Homer tries to save face by claiming that he fought Miss Spots before she escaped, much to the children's dismay. Upset over this turn of events, Homer angrily swears revenge on Miss Spots for deceiving and robbing his family. Later on, Homer and Marge are in bed, where Homer is watching himself acting like a buffoon on television. He's even marked as being a local boob on the news, remarking that he just isn't that bright. Marge says that he loves him the way he is, and if he has 3 children who managed to capture a criminal by themselves, he must be doing something right. At first, this affects Homer just a little. After seeing Marge give out an assuring smile towards him, he cheers up 100%. Homer and Marge then kiss each other as Marge turns the lamp off for bedtime, and Homer asks if they can make out again, which greatly pleases Marge.